We have to be mindful that when children exit school, there is very little the parents can do. The parents perhaps no longer could control that child. But while they're to school, the parents have power. And obviously, the parents should do everything within their power to channel the child correctly. As I like to say, fix the pitch for your son and your daughter. You might hear me putting a lot of emphasis on son. Because if you ask the police encounter more boys running afoul of the law than women. The mental institute are dealing with more men, more young men than women. On the block, we have more issues with the men than the women. The job market, it is more difficult, more and more difficult for young boys to get jobs. I notice even the security forces now. More girls are going and do security, and the men on the block can't get a job. I've been in conversation with some young men, and I asked, why don't you go and look for security jobs? And they said to me that they have to get police record, and the record not good. One instance, a man owed the court for maintenance, so he afraid to pass by the police station. I said, I don't think if you owe the court for maintenance that you're not able to get a good record. One of his partners laughed. They say he can't even pass by the police station. So more and more, we are diminishing, we're reducing the chances of the young men getting jobs. Even some of the lumber yards want police record. Now, what are we doing with our society? Kenko, police record. Are we setting up our men? After a young man been to prison for a misdemeanor, I don't think I got that word right. Yeah, misdemeanor, something like that. He broke the law, and he end up in court. Now what happens? When he come from prison, he come from the court, the community is not sympathetic. So they are not prepared to readily employ him. It's difficult for him to get a job in one of the companies, and he do not have the basic education. That must be of concern to parents, and I like to say particularly women. The children who exit school, there is not much you could do with them. You have to pray that they have an encounter on the Damascus Road. Or maybe they get a dream, or they change their mind about their attitude and behavior. But you could definitely influence the children in primary school, the children between 0 and 16 years. You could definitely influence them and prevent them from going in the direction of the elderly children. How do you do that? I always say to people, try and get your young boys and girls to go to church. You cannot do it alone. You don't know her man already. More often than not, you're in charge of the house. You don't really have man. You might have a tourist relationship. You might have a visiting man. but you, the woman in charge of your home. The man that visits you, you know he do not have much power. So the direction that your children go, particularly if the children you're dealing with is not his, then maybe you must try bringing your children to church. It is not about heaven and hell there. It's the church teaches people to do good things. Even if the pastor not doing what he telling you to do. Even if the priest playing job and you're not practicing what he preaching. But you cannot say your children go to church and they teach them to do wrong things. They encourage them to forgive. And you know the Bible says forgive 70 times 7. They encourage them to be compassionate, to look after one another, to help the orphans and the widows, to help the sick. So I want to encourage you parents to grow your children in the church. The Bible says grow your children in the way of the Lord. So when they are old, they shall not depart. Or when they depart, they may remember what you teach them. It makes no sense pretending. 70% of the children that exit school are unable of meeting the minimum requirement that would help them to be competitive on the job market. And I'm not speaking to the people who is successful. They don't want to hear me. Their children are doing well. They're successful in school. And some of them wish it's the children alone that do well. So they will get good jobs. They're in better places. And they could show off on you. They could say you're classless. They could call on the people of Dabo and Mount Rush and River Road and say these people are classless. So my emphasis and my concentration is principally on the people in the lower income group and individuals that fall in that 70% category. So one of the things I strongly recommend that you send your children in the church. Get them involved in the groups and the organization in the church. Encourage them to participate in the choir in the church. And as I speak about choir, another important step you can take is to teach your children to learn to play a musical instrument. You have the organ, you have the guitar, you have the banjo, you have the quattro. But if you claim you don't have money to buy that, get a shell. No one in Grenada cannot say they cannot afford to buy a shell. Yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon. How are you, Mr.
Great. Yes, my brother. Good to hear your voice, man.
Well, good to hear you too.
Yeah.
Because I didn't hear you yesterday. I had to listen to it this morning. But I just hear you saying that the people in River Road and Mount Rush are classless.
Well, one of the directors of the National Democratic Congress.
The Congress, yes.
Yeah. The National Democratic Congress, one of the mouthpiece, the directors, been attacking these people and saying words to the effect.
So when they were looking for vote, how they was called at that point?
Well, I think they only won these people for the numerical importance, for numbers.
That is why I think, you see, sometimes when you say things, it's good for them. Yes, because they want to jump up and hug you. You want to jump up and hug everybody you see. But when you get on top of the ladder now, you ain't good enough to come close to me. That is why I stay in my lane. I drink in my rum. You say you like to drink your rum? I like to drink my rum and stay in my lane. They ain't good enough to stay close to him. That's why he go rent a place. Well, me I know if he rent, if he buy it, because the way they're speaking, because every week he going away and they ain't telling nobody he going away. I hear his vehicle meeting an accident. I don't know if they're going online if they drink the rum. But I'm not drinking a rum, man. So they can't tell me nothing because they're not they want to lie with me because they want to give me a job. I'm taking the job, but I will make them know when I want to drink my rum, they can't tell me nothing. None of them. They can't fire me, you know. I tell them I know them. Even though you hire me, you cannot fire me. Hello?
Yes, go right ahead, man.
Yes, man. Even though they hire me, they cannot fire me because I'm towing the line. Do as you would like them to do unto you. And if that's what they're doing, I go follow what they're doing.
Yeah.
I tell you, I don't care at them because I know you're too good.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, my brother. Thank you.
Yes.
We have to be extremely concerned what we do with our young children. I am not convinced that a majority of Grenadian parents have the stick-with-itiveness, the killer instinct, the hunger to get their children educated. We have a lot of schools in Grenada. We have enough schools. The government is spending over 11% or 10% of the GDP on education. Our teacher-to-children ratio is comparable with other countries, if not better. Our teachers are more highly literate today than any other time in our history. And our schools are in a better position. And I believe that we have a fair amount of internet and computer gadgets. And I think most schools have internet. So people can access the internet after school. What will seems lacking is that hunger from parents to make certain the children educated. It appears that they don't know what to do. I believe it is not hard. So your young children, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 12 years, 16 years. At that time, you have immense control over them. Let the church help you. Bring your children in church. I like to say, don't send them. Bring them, go. Whenever the drum beat, your children in it. When DJ, your children in it. When other public activity, your children in it. So bring your children in church and grow them up in the church. Because I think you will have a better chance of your child being more disciplined and growing up with compassion and having respect for people if you let the church help you. Another thing we can do is to encourage groups in the community. We don't have to be sophisticated about it. 5, 6 parents could come together and form a little supportive, informal group in the neighborhood. You don't have to keep minutes. You sit down on a step in a yard and discuss issues. How are we going to provide for our children better? If there are people in your community that is successful, ask them. Sometimes we fast in everybody's business. So where your children education is concerned, we could fast too. That is a good reason to be fast. And don't bother if the neighbor know your business. The neighbor know your business anyway. The neighbor know about your children's behavior more than you. You're the last person to know. So you may as well work together in the neighborhood for the improvement of your children. Grenadians like to plant flowers. Perhaps you have a child 5 years old. And if you could encourage the man that you have, even if he's a visiting man, a tourist relationship, to help you find the names of the flowers and let your children learn the names of flowers. Could you imagine you have a 5, 8-year-old, 5 to 8, 10 years old, that knows the name of 20 different flowers and could recognize them? You could always write the names on a piece of cardboard. Most of the men can't spell. Since they leave school, they don't read a book. But most of the women, they could spell. Most of the women are better equipped with the telephone, the cell phone, and they can research information. You see, you're dealing with your child, and it's in your interest to make certain that anything you could do to have your child competitive on the job market, that should be done. If your boyfriend is a fisherman, that means he might be able to access a shell, or he could blow a shell. Encourage him to teach your child to blow the shell. A shell easy to get, $5. And the lambi in it is also available. Yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre,
Yeah.
do you release some budget? The budget Friday?
Not the budget, Parliament.
Parliament, I mean. Sorry.
Budget dollar, yeah, Parliament.
Parliament. Do
Yeah.
you release them?
Some aspects of it, listen to it.
Why you find about it?
I didn't listen all of it.
Yeah, but why you find what you see?
What I find with any particular aspects are just a general statement.
What you see, what you find about it.
Well, I think I was dealing with a supplementary presentation, a supplementary budget, and it is not unusual. It's a normal thing for them to have. Obviously, one would have thought that the government now start to do the consultation for the preparation of the next budget. Because we are August finished and 1 September come, governments are more preparing for the final, for the end budget. And it doesn't seem that the government is giving enough explanation or reasons or justification for their actions. So concerns will be expressed in that light.
Yeah, but Mr. Pierre, without cutting the conversation, the best budget, what they do with the best budget for the year? I don't see what they do with the best budget.
Well, who say it was the best budget?
That's what they say.
Well, I tell you, when Monkey writes his story, Monkey always writes, Them that say it's the best budget. I describe the budget as one of the worst budget for people in the lower income group, and it's a good budget for people in the higher income group. I describe the budget that there is a clear line of demarcation between the budget. So one group of people could feel well satisfied, but it's a disaster. I think I use the word disaster
Yeah, because
for people in the lower income group. So I never use the word best budget.
the budget, up to now, I don't see what they do since they come in power.
Well, you see, caller, for you to see what they do, you have to understand the government has done a lot for some people. Now, if you owe the government taxes up to $1 million, $2 million, $300,000, $30,000, $10,000, and you're able to get a relief from those taxes, wouldn't you not be happy? You would be happy. Whether you end this year, NNP would be glad. Because you have thousands or millions of dollars that you would have to pay. But the government now decide are going to give you a break on it. So people in that category would be extremely happy. The people who are traveling all over the world and could bring their boyfriend or their spouse or the man with them when they go in on travel, they will be very happy.
Yeah,
The people who are placed as advisory leads, agriculture had about 12, government pay them, they will be very happy. The people who was employed in MIT for political mischief, they will be very happy. So caller, some people is extremely happy and comfortable with the National Democratic Congress. Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre, talking to you, cut me off, you know.
Go right ahead, caller.
Mr. Pierre.
You see, you caller, when you ask me question, that is what dangerous about me, you know.
Okay, all right.
Say what you want to say, and then when you finish, ask the question, let me answer.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Pierre, in Parliament Friday, sit down the leader of the opposition, the leader of the opposition, the leader of the opposition, sit down. You find that respect? I don't find that is respect, Mr. Pierre. That's not how the Speaker of the House have to get on with the leader of the opposition. Because after the leader of the opposition talk and the Prime Minister have to say what he have to say, then when the opposition talk, then the Prime Minister come and give his views what the leader of the opposition say. But that is not what's going on. Every time the leader of the opposition says something, the government the Prime Minister put up a light and they making the Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition, sit down and he have to say what he have to say. That is disrespect. And I listen to caller this morning saying that Dr. Mitchell walk out Parliament. If he didn't have to go to you, now walk out Parliament. You know, walk out Parliament is tough. And after he finish talk, then he go where he have to go because he and Peter David maybe have to go, so they go. They don't go out, walk out, they don't tell them, they don't go in, they don't tell them they stay in. They have to go and they got to go. And I want the Speaker of the House put the respect inside Parliament. He don't have no godfather and godson inside there. You come to do the people's business, do it, you don't have no favor of whosoever inside there. You listen to everybody and you do what you got to do. If you don't know, you need to learn. Learn, and then you're going to set yourself free. Because what you can tell your children, that you come in and tell an old man like Dr. Mitchell, a big old man like Dr. Mitchell, and I vex. When they are vexed, if I day inside there, the police would arrest me because I don't like it. That's not how people do things. Mr. Pierre, have a blessed day.
Thank you, caller. Sometimes I'm amazed and surprised at some of you all. Do you expect anything better from NDC? The National Democratic Congress had some of the mouthpiece cussing people. They cuss the church. They say choke on people. They say give them armchair. They come in power, they attack the elderly, the physically challenged, disadvantaged children, needy and greedy. Do you expect better from them? To be very frank with you, I don't even pay attention to these things because I don't expect better from the National Democratic Congress. It's a greedy group of vultures that even prepare to do things what I consider to be bribery. I don't expect better from them. I've been studying the NDC. I studied the action in 1990. I look at the action in 2008, 2013. What they're doing now. I look at the people that the NDC has fired from the party, pushed out, or dilute their significance. And I'm not disappointed. I'm not surprised. That is what we have. We have a greedy group of arrogant individuals that is extremely disrespectful, led by the Prime Minister of Grenada. Remember, caller, the Prime Minister said we campaign on a policy of transformation, but it is not transformation. It is restorative justice. Restorative justice to me is political vengeance. When a political party comes into power and give people in the lower income group and then introduce a policy of restorative justice, how could you expect them to display scruple and decorum in the parliament? Difficult for me to understand why you expect better from them. Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre.
Yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
Brother, Mr. Pierre, I call on the NMP leader who has some respect for the people of this country.
Caller, the NNP is not in power, you know.
Yes, but
and the NNP, caller.
People should have some respect for the Ghanaian people. Mr. Pierre, can you imagine the former Prime Minister keeps just stand up in the Parliament and say, he goes say what you want, whether they like it or not. They're not disrespect to the Parliament.
No, caller. Caller.
Mr. Pierre, let me tell you something.
Caller, I want us to be reasonable and fair when we're speaking. The House is managed by the Speaker. And if, when you listen to the House, that the Speaker is showing open favoritism and bias in the House,
you can't,
don't expect.
You can't tell the Speaker what to do.
You cannot tell. Caller.
The Speaker could put you out of the House once you disrespect him. You have to respect the Speaker of the House. When the Speaker tells you sit down, you're supposed to sit down. You get up and tell him and the last statement. What is Speaker business? So you could call the Speaker, tell the Speaker you could say what you want. He could say what you want. Regardless of what, you know, the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister of this country, he must have respect for the people of this country. The man tack. And when he finishes your work with the Parliament, stand up and take the position, stand up and face the reality. No court and go and hide and pay him. This former NMP speaker says, all they're doing in the Parliament of this country is complaining. If somebody says something, they're complaining. They're the complaining group of NMP. Mr. Pierre.
Right, thank you, caller. Caller, what is going to happen in this country that the action of the National Democratic Congress would serve as a catalyst for NNP to behave the same way? Let me repeat that. If the National Democratic Congress and the members continue like that, the NNP members going to believe that they have to do the same thing. For 7 years, members and spokespersons and surrogate leaders of the National Democratic Congress was extremely disrespectful to members of the NNP. They show immense tolerance. Yes, caller, welcome.
Yes, Mr. Pierre. I wanted to say that before he called.
Yeah.
Tell him, you know. He living in Port. We know he living. We know he walking.
No.
That's not bad, you know. No, Mr. Pierre. I said to you before.
We don't go along that route yet. You see, you have to warn people what would happen if they continue on the trajectory. We can't go along there yet.
I want to give him a direct message here, personally.
Yeah, we can't go along that route yet. We have to beg Grenadians, don't go along that route. You know that station we function on. You could say what you want about the leadership at this station. They always reminding people to be respectful.
Mr. Pierre, Okay, you know what?
Yeah,
Well,
we don't go down that route yet.
I ain't going. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
going to stay in the lane.
When we're ready to go down that route, we will go. But right now, we're
Right now.
begging people,
be
don't take
tolerant.
Grenada down that.
Be tolerant.
Yeah.
All
Be
right, but
tolerant.
I will be tolerant. I
Yeah.
will leave him alone.
Yeah.
But tell him he has to keep his eyes open.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, I say that because we have to beg Grenadians, don't go along the route of the National Democratic Congress. The Congress has been extremely disrespectful to the people in the lower income group, the elderly people, the weak people, the physically challenged people. You hardly could engage a conversation with one of the political activists of the NDC if they don't call you stupid, dunce, or some disrespectful name. The National Democratic Congress agents on radio, look at the language they're using. Nasty people. Now they've gone further and they are identifying communities they see as classless. My brother Willie fall in that trap. My brother Jude fall in that trap. Mr. Tillman Thomas fall in that trap. Instead of calling on them and saying, no, you can't go down that route, they join them. During the independence celebration, when the NNP was in power, the NNP and the National Democratic Congress directors was calling them clowns when they have national colors. You see the dangerous route we're going in? Now you have much more people on social media, and some of them language aggressive. I don't like that. But you see, if we continue on that, the National Democratic Congress could be matched very effectively, whether on radio, on social media. And that's why I'm pleading with our people, don't follow this route. Try, let us try. Because remember, it's Grenada that's important. You don't want to use the same language they use. You don't want to behave the same way they do. And you have to deep down. You have to go deep down and be very tolerant and still continue to be respectful. While we appeal to the Prime Minister of Grenada to give back the elderly people the $150, you lied to them. You deceived them. You quote the World Bank. We want to appeal to the people in the diaspora. Next time the Prime Minister come on a gala, write it on a piece of cardboard for you not to forget. Because when you start to take out pictures, you just forget to ask questions. Ask him to give justification, reason, and economic rationale for removing $150 from the elderly, the physically challenged, and disadvantaged children. Ask him to do that. Write it on a placard. Because I know when all you dressed with all your nice dandan, and all you taking out pictures, all you go forget. And I don't want the laws of diminishing return to be so clearly marked before all you remember to ask questions. Because the Prime Minister is not answering these questions in Grenada. And the journalists he favors, including Dr. Bob, is also staying away from it. That is not good. We can't afford to tear up the ground. But the cries of some of the people that is disadvantaged is resonating around the country. We don't want to go down that route. Color, the NNP is not in power. The NNP was rejected at the polls. and they're not in power. And I, in particular, am not going after the mistakes that the NDC make. I don't bother with that. I am looking at the policy of the NDC, how it is counterproductive to the people in the lower income group in particular. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother.
Over everything.
Great, my brother, good.
Mr. Pierre, I remember during the election campaign, some of the people in the diaspora that has the family in Greater here, they was always calling them and tell them, don't vote NMP, vote NDC. And if they ever go and vote NDC, they will never send anything for them back from overseas to Greater. Some of the people who take their call, adhere to the call from the family in diaspora, right now they are in worse condition than they were before the election. I wonder if these people that are reaching out and helping them, if you reach out and helping them, because when you see happen in September, when the Prime Minister gone out, it's big party. Among them, when they had to pay, them people just had to pay to go in a gala party. I wonder if these people, the people that were even really seeking the interest of the people that in the family in Greater here that they tell to support the NDC. Now that the NDC is our government and they send home the people who adhere to the call of the family in the diaspora, are these people, the people in the diaspora reaching out and help them?
So you can't blame the diaspora for lobbying their relatives here. The language they use may be sometimes unsavory, but what they were saying was lobbying the people.
Yeah,
but remember, during the COVID-19, Grenada perhaps was receiving more remuneration from outside than anybody else. So even now, there is a lot of people in the diaspora that are disappointed. Remember, the National Democratic Congress sat down and planned lies.
In the lab.
So the same way they tricked some Grenadians, they also deceived people in the diaspora.
What happened now? They use you in the diaspora now to encourage your family to vote for them. Right? So they come out like if a man used you to spread a message to your family, and your family not vote and the party win. You don't expect, you agree what you say is true. You're expecting that you're expecting to help the government go help these people that you help encourage them to vote for the party, the party that they want to win. And now they give the government the blessing, and they come and they do the opposite. Yes, it hurt you. It also hurt the person, because the person's life was much better. And now the life worse than it was before the last election. Yes, you know, in that who encourage that, will not feel happy about it. You will feel sad about that because you're not expecting that, right? So they were asking if they are helping them, because see, I do believe yes, you should help them, because when you forget them and you spend money on the same government who encourage you know to tell family here to vote for them, but you're spending that money. Then when the government come up in America, wherever they come, you spend about $200-something US to go in a gala, and you're forgetting the same people here, your family here, that to encourage you to vote. I should take that money and help the people in Grenada to encourage you to vote for the party. Right. Well,
yes, my brother. Okay. Lobbying is legitimate in a democracy. Some people might lobby by just encouraging you. Some might put the pressure on and put conditionality to their support. I think sometimes some of the issues here is because we are not educating ourselves about the policies of political party. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr.
Yes,
Pierre.
my brother, welcome.
Papa, every day I hear about in parliament about a million. Real million, like dog and cat fighting for millions there, you know. We're in trouble, you know. What you think about that, Uncle Pierre? Every time I turn on the radio, well, with that same thing what's going on there now, I know this on the other station and I turn back to you. Only about a millions what fighting war there, you know. And one party laughing, the other set. The opposition, every time the opposition go to say something, the other set laughing. They're vexing and they're laughing. So I'll leave that to you now. And have a pleasant afternoon.
Yes, scholar. Again, sometimes in the politics, we just get carried away without understanding. And I say to people, the National Democratic Congress behave the same way every time they come in power. They did that in 1990, in 2008, 2013. And when they leave government, they traumatize the economy. So I don't expect them to do anything better. You remember in 2008, 2013, the NDC was not able to pay claims in the treasury, over $110 million. They was selling government property to meet current expenditure. They were selling property that did not belong to them. And as a result, they lost election on 2 occasions. But everybody forget. And they came back with a lot of lies that they sat down in a room, in a lab, and planned. And people got tricked. People honestly believe that workers on contract will be made permanent. People believe that the e-money will be made permanent. People believe that the elderly people will get $650. Individuals say the World Bank, so it must be true. So the National Democratic Congress presented a series of planned lies, and the majority of people fell for it. The same thing they do in 2008. They use an elderly man to help them to propagate the lies. At that time, they promised the e-money $1,000. They fired them after. So the NDC has not changed. If anything, this is the purest form of NDC, a greedy group of vultures who prepare to bribe individuals. And why I say that? Based upon the actions they do, I believe and I interpret it. The intention is not genuine. Like when you pay workers that did not work, even if the court say you don't have any legal obligation, like the rumors that are spreading that you paid number 10 to jump fence. And nothing is wrong with doing that. But you do it at the expense of removing $150 from people you promise to give $650. That is the challenge we have. That is the challenge we have. And people have to understand, when you go and vote, you have to remember to know the policy of the government that you're voting. Sometimes we put a lot of emphasis on the individual. If the individual have a track record, you could depend on the track record of the individual. But if it's a whole brand new team, you gamble. And sometimes when you gamble, you lose. So you can, this is the reality. But with all that in place, we still have to be concerned about our young children in school and what we do to encourage them to be more competitive on the job market. And I always encourage people to grow their children in the church. Bring them to church with you. Music. Encourage your children to learn music. And don't say you don't have money. You have. Because a shell is about $5. And if your child could blow the shell, then the child is easier for the child to blow the trumpet. You could end up a trombonist. You could work together with other people in your community to form groups. Small, informal groups where you meet on one another's step and mind your business. Your emphasis must be on your children's education. Teach your children to swim. The sea is about 30 minutes walk away. We have a lot of heavy-duty vehicles, heavy-duty machinery. There are some areas you could make swimway in the river. Teach your children to swim. Make certain while your child in primary school, you expose them to foreign language, Spanish and French. We have a number of people that was in Venezuela many years ago. Some of them have children here. And you could form little Spanish groups in your community and encourage your children to play music. Play some salsa. We have over 500 soca artists. If some of these soca artists were able to speak Spanish, Venezuelans, Costa Ricans, and Mexicans might have been employing them to have shows in this country. It would have increased their competitiveness in the entertainment industry. The majority of people who have children in school today been to secondary school. You can't depend on the school system. They don't care. When your child have 5 years and they go to school, they watch it, and they say, that can make. They doesn't use that language today. They use more sophisticated language. Like the child is not academically inclined, so send him to technical school. Me foot. Anybody tell you that, tell them put it on a piece of paper for you and sign their name on it so we could make it public. If you want to do any technical thing now, you have to do maths. You must pay the government tax. So you must learn maths in school. You think the government joking for tax? Otherwise, you have to wait for NDC to give you a blight to wipe out your errors, some of your errors. It's so important that when your children go to school, give them guidance. Show them the importance and the value of doing maths, of doing chemistry, of doing physics, of doing biology, of doing French and Spanish and English language. These basic subjects are the most important subjects. Once you are successful with them in flying colors, you could end up into any area. So don't let your children be misguided and they spend time on subjects that doesn't give them the edge in the marketplace. It's easy to mislead your children, and parents must know that. You have to have disciplined children. You know, some of you have the television in the house. They tell you mash up the television and buy an organ, or a piano, or a guitar, and encourage your children to play music. Don't believe me? Ask any teacher in Grenada if learning music in school is beneficial to children's education. Ask any teacher in there. Watch them in the eyes when you ask them. If they blink in the line for you. And this information has been with us for over 200 years. But we in the Caribbean is ignoring it. We have to be concerned about our young children, particularly our boys, ending up in the jail, ending up in the mental institute, ending up with substance abuse. They're smoking about 9 weed in a day. You say weed good. Good what? When you smoke all this weed, you're more sleeping and hallucinating and turning stupid in your house. It don't good. They're taking coke and they rob it and tiffin. It's not that rich people are taking coke, but they have plenty of money. They could maintain their habit. They may be able to spend $400-500 a day to take coke. But when you don't have money and you have to spend $150 a day to take coke, you're going to sell all the things in your parents' home and then you're going to rob the neighbors. So you have to be concerned. We have to encourage one another, but particularly our women. And I insist, the women have to have a hunger for education and see how you could get the men to help you. Women have a lot of influence over men sometimes. It's you to determine what your objectives are and to what extent the men can assist you. The government cannot help. This government in particular is not sensitive to the needs of the people in the lower income group. The Minister of Education would not be impactful where education is concerned. He just going through the motion. So the ball is in your court, the parents' court. If you want your child to be successful in school, you that have to do it. The children in secondary school, you practically miss the boat. So pay attention to the children in primary school. So our school system must not be a factory producing candidates for the prison, the mental institute, for the rum house, and for the drug addict and pushers. And women, you are responsible. Always the chief people responsible. And make certain you get your man to work with you for the positive development of your children. We have to remember that the secular world is diluting religion. And so it's important for us to pay attention to our religious belief. Yes, scholar. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Yeah. Afternoon. Hello?
Go right ahead. Yes, scholar. Hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. Sorry for this. Let me turn on the volume on this a little bit. Yeah. Talking about music. You know, only last week I was thinking about it. Those various bands we had in the communities over the years. Like in Brush Grove, you had Rhythm Riders with Touches. You had those guys from Grenville there, Charles guys and them, Leon Charles and those boys. I forgot the name of the...
Moss,
so to speak. And in almost every community, you had those bands, yes? And they were very impressive to us as young people. In fact, I was in one too. And we were trying our things. We're doing the best we could have. And admiring those musicians. You look at that guy in Bakwale down there. What's the name of the musician?
Ajamu.
Ajamu, so to speak, man. Over those years, you had those bands, and you had various
A few of them well enough in St. Patrick's.
Oh, yes.
Jaja children.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
The bees in Parklet.
Man, I admire you.
Yes, my brother. We come to the end of the program, and it's a good note to stop on. And I hope you call Oli, and let's start on it again. Because we must song in our women head that they need to do more. They have to be hungry. Thank you very much.
Triple N. Informative, entertaining, and first. Every hour on the hour.
Welcome to the latest news update as produced by Triple N.